This is Clay Rooks at City College. I want to talk to you about how you use illustration or examples in your writing. To illustrate means to use examples. A lot of times we think of illustrate as meaning pictures, and in a way it is using pictures in your writing, but it means more to use examples. These examples can be things like facts or opinions, they can be anecdotes or stories or case studies or whatever. Even opinion can illustrate a point that we're trying to make in our writing. Examples help us to show, not just to tell. In other words, to create a picture or an image or a detail in my mind. For example, don't just tell me that your roommate is the sloppiest person in the world. I may accept that idea, but it will help me if you say, well, he never cleans his room, he never washes dishes, he doesn't even wash his clothes. When you illustrate his sloppiness by those examples and details, then I understand it much better. So what should examples do? Well, first of all, they should be very specific and use good detail. They should support the topic or the thesis of the paper that you're working on, and they should also help clarify the main ideas that you are bringing out. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you're working on the topic of the benefits of alternative energy sources. Now I might have in my mind an idea of what you mean by alternative energy sources, but it would be best if you gave me several examples of alternative energy sources, such as solar, wind, nuclear, and geothermal. That would help a lot. Now, there are basically two ways that you can use examples. The first is to use several singular examples. By that we mean basically a list of short examples. The other way you can do it is to use what's called an extended example. This is usually in the form of an anecdote or a story or reporting a case study or something like that. And of course that would be a paragraph or more. Let me give you some examples. For singular examples, read along with me here. There are a number of ways to spend a Saturday afternoon. Household chores like mowing the lawn and home improvement projects such as painting that room often top the list. Then again, on those beautiful weekends when it's just too nice to be working, there's nothing like getting out to the farmer's market or planning a picnic. If you need to get out of town, you can visit the local recreation areas or go fishing. For the less ambitious, there's always an afternoon movie or a game on TV or a good, well-deserved nap. Depending on the season, you can be as active or as inactive as you want. The possibilities are endless, and someone in the family always has an idea of something to do. And if no one has an idea, there's always that lazy afternoon nap just waiting. Now, as you can see here, I'm illustrating ways to spend a Saturday afternoon, and I use 9 or 10 very short examples, basically a list of things that you can do. This is using singular examples. The other thing that you can do with illustration is you can use what's known as an extended example. In this case, it is basically one example all drawn out, almost like a story. Go along with me here. People often believe that they have rights that actually exist nowhere in the law, at least not in writing. These misconceptions are usually because of the way the courts have ruled in various cases. The courts have often taken great latitude in interpreting the law, including the U.S. Constitution. One good example is the right of privacy. Most Americans will state emphatically that they have the right to privacy guaranteed by the Constitution. However, the Constitution never mentions the right to privacy. That right is an implied right granted by the court after several judgments over the years involving privacy issues. The court's reasoning was that the right to privacy is implied in the various amendments to the Constitution, especially the fourth, which is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. So, even though none of the Constitution's amendments actually use the word privacy, the court has given us that right. Now you see here, the point or the topic of this paragraph is that people have rights that don't actually exist in writing. But the example is one long example about the specific right of privacy. This is an extended example, one example extended over a length of paragraph. Now, let's look at what the difference that specific examples make. Let's say you have this topic here. If you've ever had a job working outdoors, you know that you always get dirty and sweaty, bugs bite you. It's really no fun in bad weather either. Sometimes you can be too hot, sometimes too cold. That kind of work is hard. Now, this has perhaps a good idea in it, but there's no real good specifics here. You read something like this and you go, yeah, okay, but if I tell you this here, then you will see much more clearly what it is I'm trying to say. Outdoor work is tough. Working outdoors in all seasons, I have been sunburned to a crisp in summer and so cold in winter that I couldn't feel my hands holding my shovel. The dirt and grime got so deep in my pores that I almost couldn't get it out without scrubbing my skin off with pumice soap. Swarms of flies are attracted to your sweat, and mosquitoes are your constant companions. Around brush or heavy growth, you also need to watch out for spiders, bees, wasps, chiggers, and other bugs I can't even name, though most will bite or sting you. Most of the tools and equipment you use are heavy. Shoveling or swinging a pickaxe all day long is back-breaking work. This work will eventually make you old before your time. Now you see, using the specific details in here and telling this story and these examples really improves the idea and the topic that the writer was working on. This is the power of using examples and illustration in your writing. It brings forth the picture and the idea to the person's mind and really makes it good. So here's what I want you basically to get from this teaching on how to use illustration. First of all, use very specific examples. Use anecdotes and stories and facts and opinion, case studies, whatever it is that you can use to illustrate and to draw out the points that you're trying to make and make them so that people can really see it in their mind. Your choices are, of course, to use several singular examples or to use an extended example. Now, sometimes people ask, well, which should I use? Well, actually, it's best if you could use both. But it depends on what your topic is and what you're trying to show. But use them as best as you can and use lots of detail. That's what will work best. All right, I'll talk to you later.